All right, in our spotlight, there's a new lawsuit that accuses Northwestern's law school of bias against white men in its hiring practices. This complaint alleges that the private university's law school gives hiring preference to women and racial minorities with, quote, mediocre and undistinguished records. The lawsuit was brought by a group called Faculty, Alumni, and Students Opposed to Racial Preferences. In a statement, a spokesperson for Northwestern University said that the Pritzker School of Law is among the top law schools in the country, adding that they are proud of their outstanding faculty and will vigorously defend this case. Now, this comes a year after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down race-conscious admissions at Harvard and the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. I want to bring back my panel here, Mike, Christina, and John. And first of all, John, look, this suit alleges that the law school has instituted a mandate to hire more women and people of color, and the suit claims it's a violation of federal law that prohibits discriminating against applicants on the basis of race and sex. What's your take here, John?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a natural fallout from the decision last year about admissions, but this is a very different case. The admissions case, you had measurables, you had SAT scores, you had high school grades, you had things you could look at to prove that person A didn't get in and person B did, and person B wasn't as qualified as person A because you had measurables. You don't have that with hiring, so I think it's going to be a much more difficult case to establish bias because you know what, one man's, what one person might like, another person may not, and that's part of the hiring process. You hire people based on personality sometimes, or just a feel, right? And so how do you have, there's no measurables for that, and that's why I think this is going to be a difficult case for them to establish, unlike the one from last year.
And Christina, look, this lawsuit says that just 3 out of these 21 job offers from Northwestern Law School over the past 3 years have gone to white men. And when you're talking about race and gender politics, what impact does a case like this have overall, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, I think everyone wants to know they have a fair shot at employment. And that would be fine if that's what this case was about. But it's not really about that. If we look at who's bringing this case and the people that they're supposedly representing, this is brought by some very extremist groups. The same folks that actually helped bring the abortion ban to Texas are the people pushing this case forward. The same people that tried to outlaw affirmative action for students are pushing this case forward. And they actually had 2 white male scholars named in the complaint say, no one ever even talked to us. We're not part of this lawsuit. We have no hard feelings about getting the job. We don't think we were discriminated against. So they're supposedly representing people's interests that haven't even been involved in the case, haven't talked to them. This is an extremist agenda, again, trying to make these cases go all the way to the Supreme Court to make it hard for universities to really think about building a diverse workforce and make them afraid to do that.
And Mike, how do you see this lawsuit in this moment that we're in this country where you're seeing companies wrestle with diversity, equity, inclusion practices?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think the conversation we're not having in America is that there is an anti-blackness and an anti-DEI narrative that is existing, which is the undercurrent of all these things. I'll give you 2 quick anecdotes just in general in conversations I've had with my white friends. One of my white female friends, she was talking about her daughter and how worried they were about not getting into college because she was a white female. And so, but sometimes I had to push back on her that it's just a numbers game. If you look at the University of Michigan, they had 105,000 applicants just this year alone for approximately 8,000 spots. That's just a numbers game. I know black people who didn't get into the University of Michigan this go around who are my friends, and they were very upset about it. I also, too, had another conversation at dinner with another white lady who was looking to publish a book, a nonfiction book. And the issue that she had, she was saying that the agent was saying they didn't want any books from any white authors, but only black authors were selling. And I pushed back on that. So I said, if you mean to tell me that if you look at the New York Times best-selling list, they're all going to be black authors? And I went to pull up my phone, and she said, no, I'm not saying that. So there is this sentiment of anti-blackness, and also, too, when it comes to anti-DEI. Kana, in this same issue with this lawsuit, I took a look at the numbers within Northwestern, and the numbers of Northwestern, their faculty, the 2002-2023 school year, Northwestern Law School had 135 full-time faculty members, including 23 people of color, 64 women. That leaves, Kana, 48 white men with a total of 112 white faculty members. So whiteness is still the majority. So the idea that they feel like other people have taken their jobs and not qualified is a racial trope unto itself when you look at the idea of this movement of anti-blackness and anti-DEI that just doesn't hold mustard. So that's why we have to look at the overall arching things when it comes to this. It's really frustrating, this moment that we're having.
Well, we will certainly continue to follow this case and the outcome as well. Mike, Christina, and John, our thanks to all of you.